Okay. Hi. Sorry about that.
No, I hope the cat's all set.
The cat is all set. I should have done that earlier, but we were dealing with the other technical difficulties. So
I know it's been a little bit rocky, but I'm glad that we figured it out and that we're able to see you and hear you.
yay.
Yeah, let me present this screen, make sure everyone can see it. And then we can get started.
Cool.
Also, hi, Stephanie. I'm Jen, also with Xoogler School. Thanks for
Hi, Jen.
joining in today and hosting us.
Yeah, nice to meet you. I'm happy to be here. It's been a long time coming, so here we are.
Yeah, Chris has been talking about you for a while, so we're excited.
I'm excited too.
Yes. Okay, can you see my presentation here?
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, awesome. Stephanie, thank you so much for joining us. I feel like it was like 2 weeks ago when you were onboarding me for Xoogler, but that was a super helpful process for me, hearing your tips and your best practices. So I know that our students are going to really benefit from learning from you today about recruiting in tech and how to stand out, because you have quite an extensive background in it. And so I'm not going to introduce you anymore. I think our students are happy to hear about your background from you. So thank you so much, and really excited to hear.
Cool. Hi, everyone. So happy to finally be here. Been in discussions with James, Chris, and Ankit from the Xoogler School for a couple months now. So excited that this program has finally launched. My name is Stefanie Fackrell, and I manage university programs currently for Samsung Research America, but I have been doing university recruiting for about 10 years at some of the top tech companies in, well, the world, I guess, not just Silicon Valley. I did work at Google for several years doing university recruiting, and also focused on Eng research and APM. I also worked at Apple and NVIDIA. So I have some good insider tips for you guys on the recruiting process. Each company is quite different, but looking for the same caliber of talent. So really excited to share with you what I've learned as a recruiter and how to help you guys. So next slide, thank you. Again, welcome. Xoogler School is a very exciting, dynamic opportunity. I know there are some of you that are in the cohort and some of you that are just listening in. So pleasure to be here again and give you tips and tricks. Hopefully, you'll have some takeaways for when you are applying for internships after this opportunity or later in the future. So let's get started. So the recruiting process, the recruiter is your best friend. No, and I'm serious about this. The recruiter is your doorway to be noticed by managers. So this is one of the most important relationships that you will have in the recruitment process. After you apply, the recruiter is your first point of contact. So you should take this relationship very, very seriously. Recruiting is a numbers game. All of the companies that I've mentioned, the opportunities typically have thousands of applications. So your relationship with the recruiter and how you present yourself with your resume, which I will get into later, is very important. So, thousands of people apply. It's narrowed down by skill set, which is the best match for the job that's been posted. So, then it's narrowed down to 10 interviews, and offers can go out to 2 or 3 people for one position. So don't let that scare you. There's lots of great opportunities, and you definitely can land at your dream company if you prepare accordingly. So after you've applied and your application and resume has been reviewed, should a recruiter reach out this is your time to start building your relationship with the recruiter. So take it very seriously. A recruiter can be your best friend, or they can put your resume at the bottom of the pile, depending on the interaction that you have with them. So should a recruiter reach out, be responsive. Our time is valuable and your time is valuable. And typically in a recruiting process, there is a time crunch. So get back to the recruiter as soon as you possibly can with your availability. Understand that there may be a couple, you apply, it might take a couple of weeks to hear from someone, not because we're not interested, because we have thousands of applications to review. So once you've been reached out to, please be responsive. Be respectful. Being in university recruiting for 10 years, I've seen a lot, and I have seen a lot of great candidates and a lot of not so great candidates. So it is all about relationship building and attitude. And this is your opportunity to practice your professionalism. This is your gateway. An internship is your gateway into a professional world. So this is your time to practice your professional skills. Should a recruiter reach out and ask you about opportunities, if you make it, to the offer stage, and you're negotiating with other companies, or you're waiting on other interviews for another company that you're really interested in, please be truthful and transparent. We understand that candidates are highly sought after, and you may have multiple interviews and multiple offers coming up. Just please let us know. Nobody likes to know out of the dark that, oops, we presented you an offer, but you've already accepted an offer from another company, and you were just using our offer to kind of game the system. So always be truthful and transparent. That's definitely a great way to build your relationship with the recruiter, and have them be on your side. Last point, no ghosting. There is a lot of ghosting going on. I don't know where that comes from, but if you've had any personal interaction with a recruiter, via email, via phone conversation, please close the loop. Don't just go silent. We don't want to go silent on you. It's a two-way relationship. And again, recruiting and tech is a small industry. So, you want your personal brand to go with you to whatever company. You could intern at Google and then maybe end up at Apple. Recruiting's a small world, so no ghosting. Again, that goes along with being professional. Once you've built a relationship with someone, just close the loop, say no thank you, or accept the offer, and you'll have a best friend in your recruiter forever. Next slide. Okay, so the resume. The resume is the entry into getting reviewed by a recruiter and a hiring manager. So take it very seriously. A resume literally is reviewed. I know they say maximum 4 seconds, but I'll give it 10 seconds. It is the window into who you are. We don't know you personally, so we see you on paper. After 10 seconds, it can be, let's have the hiring manager screen this, or not qualified, like let's move on. So when you're creating that resume, make it count. And the way to make it count is to add the meaty information that will spark the recruiter's interest for the role that they're hiring for and get you in front of that manager. So meaty information is the internships you've done, any school projects that you have done. Xoogler school can be added there now if you're in this cohort. that should definitely go under projects or personal projects. I guess we'll decide later if that goes under internship, but it definitely can count towards your skills and what you've learned, because you are learning something here that you can bring to the table to your internship. A lot of companies like to see leadership and volunteer information. I know someone has already asked me on LinkedIn about associate product manager roles. Associate product manager roles are leadership roles. You would be leading a team and a product. So it's very important to have on your resume anything leadership or volunteer related that you can showcase your skills and what you've done. Also, show your entrepreneurial side. If you've created an app, if you've worked on a startup, anything, show that on your resume. Some of you may be researchers. So if you've published a paper, add that to your resume too under publications. Any information that we can know about you that would be relevant to the internship, we want to know, and your resume is where to put that. As much as possible, tailor your resume to the role and the company that you are applying to. Again, a lot of tech companies are looking for similar skill sets, but there are different job titles that they might use, different skill sets that they say at Google or at Apple. So pay attention to the job description and tailor your resume specifically to that company and that job. Most importantly, be sure to check your formatting and spelling. I know that's simple, but it's like submitting a really important paper. You want to make sure there's no spelling errors, there's no formatting errors. You'd be surprised, but recruiters and managers pay attention to that. So again, it goes along with professionalism and taking this very seriously. This is your gateway into getting your foot in the door at any company. Another tip, LinkedIn. Definitely create a LinkedIn profile to showcase yourself there. Managers are reviewing LinkedIn profiles. So I know a lot of times people may think LinkedIn is not taken that seriously, but it is. So managers and recruiters will review your LinkedIn profile as well as your resume to have a whole package about you. Again, you're branding yourself. It is your brand. So make sure LinkedIn is updated with all the most relevant information to be helpful to the recruiter and the manager. Next slide. Oh, there should be information there, but okay. Let's move past that. Okay. Most importantly in the recruiting process is you. You're the candidate. So you are presenting yourself to the recruiter and to the company. It's your brand. It's you. You are what you're selling to us. So again, professionalism. This is your opportunity to polish yourself. No emails with text speak. Professional, courteous emails with a salutation and an entry are always welcome and always professional. Be polished and prepare. A lot of times you're going to be meeting recruiters at career fairs or virtual info sessions. So research the company that you are going to. No recruiter wants you to walk up and say, here's my resume. What jobs do you have for me? You should come informed about the job that you've already seen on our website that you think you'd be a good fit for, and let us know and hand us your resume. That is going to help us target where we are going to search for you. We do have a lot of candidates. We do see a lot of resumes. So you should help us find you that role, not expect us to find the role for you. If a recruiter is sourcing you, then they've already determined what role you're a good fit for. But if you come meet us at a career fair, please have that information at the ready. Hey, I saw this machine learning opportunity on your career site, and I would be perfect for that. And here are the reasons why. Have questions ready. What is the day in the life of what's the day in the life of an APM look like? What sort of projects do they work on? We are more than happy to help you get your foot in the door. You just have to help us a little bit up front. Lastly, social media. Again, managers and recruiters, not so much recruiters, but managers are looking at your social media. Whatever's public, they're going to find and they're going to look at. So social media stays around forever. So if you may have done something 2 years ago that was fun, but now you're looking for a gig to get your foot in the door, entry level internship, go edit that social media. Remove stuff that you wouldn't want people to see in the professional world because they are going to review that. Next slide.
I need to pause my share for 1 second.
Oh, sure.
Give me 1 moment, and then I will reshare my screen.
Sure. I think the presentation might almost be over, and then I'm really excited to answer any questions that anybody has.
I'm going to share from the resume portion here.
Oh, yes. Great. My examples.
Awesome. Yes.
Cool.
Share.
Great.
Is this the right slide, or do you want me to move over?
I think move over. That's where I had the examples.
Here.
Oh, there they are. Okay, so I wanted to provide a couple examples for you of formatting, good formatting versus bad formatting. Again, I'm happy after this, I've left my LinkedIn at the end to look at anybody's resumes if they'd like some feedback, but a visual is very helpful. So the resume on the left is almost perfect. It lists education, from most recent to what they've graduated from, professional experience. That's great. It's perfect formatting, shows the company, what they did, the dates they were there, the city that it was in. It includes technical skills. That, again, is something, obviously, when you're applying to a role that you've seen the job description, any technical role, they're going to look at what your skill set is. So always put your skills here. You don't necessarily need to put, I've taken 1 class in machine learning or 1 class in, AI. You can kind of leave that off, especially if it's 1 class. But if you have extensive knowledge, definitely include that. Below, there are projects that this person has worked on, whether it be personal or in school. Add those projects. Below that, unfortunately, I wasn't able to include, but there were leadership skills, there were volunteer activities. If you are a president of a fraternity, if you are an Eagle Scout, list that information. And wherever you can, be sure to show progression in your learning and in your career. That's definitely something that is going to be very helpful as you look for more experienced and senior internship roles or entry-level opportunities. Companies do want to see growth over a period of time. If you've done the same internship doing the same thing 4 times, that doesn't really show that you've actually grown in your knowledge or in your career or what you've been learning. So definitely, please show career progression or learning progression. The resume on the right, that would definitely go right to the unreviewed pile because it has no information of what this person has done. It has a lot of projects, doesn't have any internships. Format is really off. Great pointer. Good thing about this resume, included portfolio, GitHub, LinkedIn. Other than that, this is a poorly formatted resume that no recruiter would spend more than 1 second looking at. So please, again, pro tip, format your resume correctly. No need to add phone numbers, no need to add address anymore. Just include your GitHub, your LinkedIn, your email address, anything that will showcase what you've done. If you're a designer, if you have a portfolio, if you have your own website, be sure to add that. GitHub, if you're technical, definitely add that. I think we already, oh yes, okay. So last but not least, these are just some helpful pointers to get reviewed by recruiters too and get your foot in the door. If you have any referrals, if you've worked with if you're a researcher and you've worked under a professor that's pretty well known in a space, and there's an opportunity at Google or NVIDIA, and they have a connection and they can refer you, referrals always help, because especially if you have been studying under them, if you've worked with them professionally, word of mouth and referrals are always very helpful. Doesn't mean you'll get the job, but it means this person knows of your experience and can help you get your foot in the door for at least a conversation. You never know where a conversation is going to lead. Whether it leads to a job or not, it could lead to other opportunities. LinkedIn recommendations, always ask for those. Again, managers and recruiters are looking at LinkedIn. If you have recommendations, add them there. That's always a good opportunity. Old school resumes used to say references upon request. LinkedIn recommendations takes the place of that. No need to ask for references. Recruiter, manager can refer right to LinkedIn. Networking. Sometimes it's all about who you know. So I know those who are in this Xoogler cohort, you're going to have a lot of opportunities to network here. Use those networks to get opportunities. I mean, again, it's all about who you know sometimes. So definitely take advantage of the relationships that you're building here and the relationships that you've built at other companies, the relationships that you've built at school, the relationships that you've built with fellow interns. Again, it is all about your network. Also, apply for roles that you may never even have considered. You never know what opportunity is around the corner. Say you wanted to be an associate product manager, but you have engineering background, apply for that role. That might be your dream job. You never know. Apply for the opportunities that feel right to you and that you may not have considered before. You never know what your future holds and what could be around the corner or lead to another opportunity. Next slide. So that's all I have for my presentation today. I'm really excited to answer any questions that you might have to be helpful to you guys. My LinkedIn is here if you want to add me. Definitely happy to stay connected with anybody. I will review your resumes for you and give you any tips that I possibly can. but it's my pleasure to be here, and I am happy to answer any questions.
Thank you so much, Stephanie. And that's an incredible offer to help, review resumes from someone who's seen so many resumes and definitely has an eye for them. So thank you so much. And I'm gonna head over to the Dory and see what questions are coming in. The first question is, what is your resume advice for college underclassmen who have not yet gotten their first internship, and advice for landing a first internship?
Sure. So if you've never had an internship before, add your school projects. You're an underclassman, so you have been studying. Add those school projects. Add stuff that you may have done in high school. Anything to showcase what you've done and what you can contribute. Add that information. I know it might not be as meaty of a resume, but everyone has to start somewhere, and this is where you can start. I think for an underclassman, again, it is about the resume, and then it is about you. Like, if you get your foot in the door, you get those interviews, prepare. Knock their socks off. Internships are learning opportunities. Nobody expects you to come in knowing everything. You're going to have a mentor and you're going to have a manager, and companies understand that. They just want someone that's hungry, and they want someone that is willing to contribute and willing to learn on the job.
Awesome. How much information on the resume or LinkedIn is too much? For example, should we include undergraduate clubs and summer jobs, even if they aren't directly applicable to the job?
I think you can add clubs. I don't think you need to add summer jobs if it's not relevant to what you're applying to. I wouldn't add that unless, unless this is your first internship and you need to add something as a job, then add it. But I think as the longer you have been interning, the less of those summer jobs that you need to put on there.
Definitely. Question from Tomer, which is, for resumes, if we only have room for one work experience, sorry, did I just read this one?
No.
Okay. If I only have room for one more work experience item and several similar options, should we choose the best one or should we combine them?
I think I would always choose the work experience, unless the project is meatier than the internship or work experience. I would always say go with the work experience. But if the project is something you've done on your own and it blasts that work experience, I would always add the work experience. But again, it's all about formatting.
Agreed. And a question from Iris, which is, she says, thank you for your presentation today. For the APM internship position at Google, what advice do you have? Should we prepare a cover letter? What's the interview process like? And what are some things that can help us students stand out?
Cover letters are outdated. You don't need a cover letter. If you're in marketing or sales, I think a cover letter is okay, because a lot of that is client interaction. So you can show your writing skills, you can show your marketing skills in a cover letter. But for a technical role or an APM role, cover letters really do not get read. I'm happy to connect with you offline about this, but I will answer a few questions just in case there are any other product managers out there that are interested. Google is all about entrepreneurship. So they're going to be looking for leadership skills when you apply to the APM role, especially because as an APM, you are going to lead a group of engineers. So you need to be technical and you need to be entrepreneurial and be able to have that social interaction and leadership to navigate directing engineers that are going to probably going to be more senior than you on projects and how to work on things. So happy to discuss that offline with you. I know that you and I have already connected on LinkedIn, Iris, but be sure to showcase leadership and entrepreneurial for APM roles for sure. And your technical skills, obviously, because that an APM is a mix of product management and technical know-how.
Got it. And a question from Alina, which is, how do underclassmen compete with people who've been coding for years for internships? How do you highlight willingness to learn and passion over lots of experience and projects?
Again, I think that definitely someone that's been coding for years is probably already going to have an entry-level opportunity. Managers understand that there are underclassmen and undergrads that are coming in that are green. And again, an internship is a learning opportunity. So managers always know that, and they're willing to mentor individuals to be successful in these opportunities. So just go in, be confident. I think getting that role is going to come down to interviewing. Most companies do technical interviews where you're going to be coding on a virtual whiteboard. So prepare as much as you can for those interviews. These interviews are not to stump you or to make you feel like you don't know what you're doing. If you make a mistake, the interviewer is going to kind of ask questions to direct you into the right direction to get a different answer. You're just going to showcase in your interview. So just prepare as much as you can as an underclassman for those interviews, for sure.
Thank you. And a question about social media.
Yeah.
You mentioned making sure your social media doesn't have anything that could disqualify you as a candidate. But as a recruiter, would you consider someone who doesn't have a social media presence / only has private accounts?
Oh, yes, obviously. But again, if it's out there for public consumption, you want to make sure, I would keep it private if you don't want to edit it.
That's solid. That's great advice and something that we have to be conscious of. And Julia is asking, once the candidate passes the resume screening, what is usually one thing that a tech recruiter looks for in a candidate during an interview? Is there a specific soft skill, assuming that they have the needed technical qualifications?
Sure. So we as recruiters we will chat with you just to kind of get to know you. It's the interviewers, which are engineers and potentially your manager, that are going to be interviewing you. My biggest piece of advice is, if you are conducting a technical interview and you get stumped, take a break, take a breath, don't get flustered. Don't let your frustration or stress show. Just take a minute. Again, the engineer is there to ask questions and to help you shine and to show your skills. So don't get anxious if you get stuck. Just again, take a minute to center yourself again and go back and say, hey, this is what I heard you ask. Can you clarify? That's definitely going to help a lot. I think that showcases that you are patient and willing to take advice and to ask questions. If you throw your hands up and get flustered and quit, or if the engineer is giving you advice to maybe take the technical piece to a different area and you're like, no, this is correct. I think, again, that showcases that maybe you're a know-it-all, and that's not a bad, that's fine. But I think that can reflect poorly, again, because in internship, you are there to learn and you are there to be mentored. And if you're, combative or anything like that during an interview and insist that you're right, I think that can be disqualifying.
Absolutely. I think that's incredible advice. Give yourself some time, reframe the question. That's really, really insightful. And a question, which is, do you have any advice for someone who recently became interested in tech, doesn't have any real industry experience yet in internships? And how would you recommend getting your foot in the door for their first internship?
Yeah, I have seen a lot of people switch from, medicine to technology. So it's all about taking the time to learn, right? If you want to be in coding, you're going to have to take classes, maybe do some boot camps on your own, take some, get into some clubs, get to know the technology that you're interested in doing. Again, tech is very competitive. So if you are interested in you're pivoting your career, I think the more information and the more learning you can do on your own is going to be beneficial to you.
Awesome. And question from Levy, which is, what are the best practices to reach out to hiring managers and recruiters abroad?
Abroad as in, these are all great questions, by the way. Abroad as in, are you from another country and you want to come to the United States, or you are in the United States and want to go to another country? I think I would ask that clarifying question.
Yeah, I will let Levy clarify in the story, and then we will swing back to that one.
Okay.
But we'll pivot to Alina's question, which is, how do we make sure that our LinkedIn isn't just a duplicate of our resume?
Well, it's kind of going to be a duplicate of your resume. I think on your resume should show your meaty projects and skills, right, from internships, bullet points. I think your LinkedIn, you don't have to put that information, the technical information, what you've worked on. You don't have to do bullet points. I think you can just show that you worked at a company, what the role was, and what the time frame you were there for. Yeah, LinkedIn is kind of a duplicate, but you can pare it down a bit more. A resume should be the showcase for applying for a job.
Awesome. And a question from Jennifer, which is, how do you prefer a resume a resume with more information that is more than one page, or less information, but making sure that we stick to one page? So staying in that confine or not?
So there's a lot of back and forth on this. I think I've been working for 10 years and my resume is 2 pages, as it should be. But if I've only done internships, I think it should be 1 page. And I think with formatting and wordsmithing, you can keep it to 1 page. But if, obviously, if you are a researcher and you have multiple publications, your resume is going to be longer. So I think it kind of depends on the role and how long you've been working. But typically, if you're an intern, resume should be about 1 page.
And I have a clarification from Levy here, which is he's looking to move from the US to another country, and he's wondering if everything you have discussed is also applicable to find opportunities in Canada, Europe, and Australia.
It should be pretty standard across the board. I think the tricky things about trying to go to another country is visa. Typically, companies do not really do visa sponsorships for internships. That can get a little tricky. Again, it depends on the company. There are a handful of companies that will sponsor you to do internships abroad. But I think in today's tricky political climate, you may want to wait till after November to try to apply to those opportunities, because I think there'll be more clarity after November.
Got it. And Hamza is asking, how can you leverage an internship at a mid-sized company to get an internship at a larger one?
Oh, I mean, of course you can. Just add it to your resume. um, I think big tech companies are like any other company. They're just bigger, right? There's more opportunities there. So as long as you showcase your internship and your skill set and what you've done at that job as detailed and meaty as possible, I think you should have no problem getting your foot in the door at a big company.
Awesome. And Alina's asking, can you add school projects that you're going to do in the upcoming weeks but haven't yet to your resume? How do you explain them well?
I probably wouldn't add those until you've actually completed them. Just because, what you add to the resume isn't going to be as detailed as the information you can add after the project. You may have taken a leadership role on that project. You may have, there may be some elements to that project that aren't clarified just yet. You have the maybe the project outline, but it's not really going to tell you what you've done on that project. So I would really wait until after you've completed the project.
Awesome. Thank you, Stephanie. I think we're going rapid fire here. So I appreciate all our students are getting their questions answered. And thank you for sort of taking them as they come in.
Yeah, my
I appreciate it.
pleasure. We still have 15 minutes, so I have a lot of time to answer questions.
And we have a lot of questions for you to answer. So
again, if we can't get to all of them, ask me on LinkedIn. I'm happy. You can put my slide back up.
Yeah. Absolutely take advantage of that. Definitely, if you have a more specific question, you should definitely follow up with Stephanie. This is a question on following up. So during the weeks that we have not heard back from the company of which we have applied at, do you recommend we follow up or send a follow-up email expressing tailored interest again, or should we just wait for the news?
So I know a lot of companies are just getting underway in their recruiting. So I would say if you applied, 2 to 3 weeks ago, give it some more time. If you applied a month and a half ago, I would follow up. But definitely, obviously with the amount of resumes that are coming in, it does take some time. And speaking as a recruiter, we're not ignoring you. We are just trying to do our job, and recruiters tend to have a heavy rec load, meaning they're not just working on one role, they're working on maybe up to 50. So just, give us some time. If it's been a month and a half, maybe follow up, but 2 to 3 weeks, I think that's, pretty standard that you wouldn't have heard something.
Got it. This is a really interesting perspective to hear, because I know as students, like we're all on this side where we are sending out our resumes and it kind of just goes into the abyss. But hearing it from you and your process and knowing that there's just a lot for you to sift through as well, I think is helpful to hear. So
yeah,
definitely.
And when I was looking for jobs myself, I mean, obviously applying and never hearing back for, maybe a month, it feels pretty stressful. But now that I'm in recruiting, I know, like, okay, someone will get back to me. Usually it's 2 to 3 weeks, I know. So just have some patience.
Yeah, I think patience is key. Absolutely. And here's another question, which is, there are required qualifications and preferred qualifications in job descriptions. Would you recommend applying even if we don't meet the preferred qualifications?
I mean, it never hurts. You never know what's going to happen. Again, I think the application and the resume are to get your foot in the door. The interview is where you're going to highlight, where you're going to outshine someone that might. You don't have the preferred skills, but that interview, the preferred skills might go out the door after they talk to you. So apply.
Right. At least get in the door.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Question from Lauren. What is your resume and recruiting advice for someone who is more interested in the policy side of tech rather than software engineering?
I mean, it's the same, right? So there will be policy internships that you've done at companies. Just add all of that information to the resume. There are policy opportunities at companies. I don't know, you may have to dig a little for those opportunities, but they are there. Again, a resume, it just shows what you've done. So if you're a designer, everything on your resume is going to be design. If you are a salesperson, everything's going to be sales. So just make sure your resume, again, is as detailed as possible about what your contributions were.
What is, from Etor, what is the role of CVs? I think you touched on this in today's recruiting efforts. And what do you do with resumes that are more than 1 page in length?
Well, the resume is everything. I mean, that's what you're submitting to get your foot in the door and to even be reviewed. I'm not going to know anything about Etor unless I see your resume. So what was the second part of the question?
Second part of the question was, what is the role of the cover letters at this point?
Oh, cover letters. Nobody reads cover letters. I mean, unless you're at like executive level, which I don't think any of us are. You don't need to write a cover letter. But I think the question may have been if it's more than 2 pages.
That was the second part on the resume side, yes.
Yeah. So I think your resume is not going to get thrown out if it's more than 2 pages. I would just say make sure those 2 pages are required and have a lot of information that tells us about you. If it's, fluff just to have 2 pages, not everything needs to be put on a resume. A resume is just to get noticed and to get your foot in the door. The interview is where you're going to say everything that your resume doesn't say. And the interview is to showcase even more what you weren't able to expound on your resume, right? A resume is a couple bullet points. So we don't know exactly from that bullet point what you did. So the interview is going to showcase, someone's going to ask, hey, I see that you interned at IBM and you worked in marketing. Can you tell us about this project that you led? Give us more information.
Got it. Thank you for the honesty. I think that's definitely important for students to hear. I think I might have been putting too much time into the wrong thing. So I definitely have a better idea going forward. Thank you. And Joe says, thank you so much. I found this talk extremely brilliant. How do you combat the anxiety of applying to a tech company, having started from a non-STEM background like business and humanities?
It's just a job. I mean, don't ever feel intimidated, really. I think that is a lot of what applying and interviewing teaches you. You just have to have confidence. Like if you know you can do something, go for it. Never having worked in tech, who cares? You can still make contributions. Just tailor the resume, get your foot in the door, and in the interview, highlight, this is why I should be here. This is what I can contribute.
Kushi is wondering, how is the text under each work experience reviewed? If recruiters only have around 10 seconds to look at a resume, do they actually read through the description? Should we bold certain important words?
No, you don't need to bold important words. I think with that, if you're going into a technical role, obviously highlight see the job description. Here's your resume. You have C++, you have Java, you have Python. That should go on your resume. I think, you really need to pay attention to what the job description says, especially the minimum qualifications. If you have the preferred qualifications, tailor that to your resume also. We are looking, we don't necessarily look like, oh, Bill did a research role, right? We are looking for the minimum qualifications and keywords that the manager wants. And then when you get the interview, then you're going to go into those bullet points. So again, tailor the resume to the job description that you're interested in.
On a resume, what would you say for location if you worked remote?
I would put where the company was headquartered, because, like all internships went remote this year, right? But your offer letter probably said for Mountain View, but you're working remote. So I would put where the job was supposed to be, New York City, Mountain View, California. And then just in parentheses, put remote, and they'll understand. Especially, that's the thing. This year, if you've done a remote internship, I think every recruiter is going to know this gap and what remote means.
Super helpful. Thank you. Harold is wondering, what are your tips for a fresh graduate who wants to apply for an internship or job at tech companies abroad? He's a foreigner planning to move to the US. Is it harder to compete with local applicants?
Well, my question would be, he's planning to move to the US. Again, I would wait until after November before you make any decisions. No, I don't think local talent is looked at over non-local talent. I think with everything going on currently, with travel restrictions, etc., I think right now is not the time to apply for entry-level opportunities, just because the restrictions that the government has put in. So I might rethink and pause for just a little while. Not that it can't happen, but right now I don't know that now's the time.
Got it. And Yara is wondering, what is the most common mistake you see when you are reviewing resumes?
I don't know. I've reviewed a lot. So I think, if you're interested in a tech role, and I'll just give this example. Deep learning is like massive right now. You've only taken one class in that. That doesn't qualify you as an expert in that area. So I think fluffing up your resume, I've seen a lot where candidates have said they're qualified in XYZ, but then when it comes to actually, that will get you the interview. But then when you get the interview, you can't prove that you have those skills. And I think just be honest on your resume. Not that you can't learn things and shoot for the stars. I think that's great. But in certain roles and opportunities, you do need a certain skill set and a certain level of understanding. And I just be honest on your resume.
Definitely. And Renee is wondering, hello, do you have any tips for a college freshman or sophomore who specifically would like to prepare for an APM role at Google?
Again, so everything that I had mentioned to Ivy, you should be entrepreneurial, you should have leadership skills, you definitely should work on your technology skills. I know Google specifically does have something called the End Practicum program, which is specifically for freshmen and sophomores. I might look into that if I were you, just to kind of get a taste for what Google has to offer. In that program, you work in pods, so it's 3 to 4 interns working together on one project. And you have a manager and a mentor. You have 2 managers, I believe. So that can get you a taste of what it would be like to be an intern there. Specifically for APM though, you definitely need to have leadership and entrepreneurial skills as well as tech skills, coding, all of that.
Awesome. What background, personalities, and skills have you found to make the most successful product managers?
Definitely confident leaders. Every time I've seen someone or hired someone for that role, they are just like super confident rock stars. I mean, because you have to lead, right? So you need to hone that skill set. If you're shy, still apply. You just need to hone that skill set of being able to speak out and speak out with confidence and show that you have leadership skills. So I think it has a little bit to do with personality, which you can always work on. Fake it till you make it sometimes. But definitely you have to have, confidence. You have to have, because again, you're going to be working with engineers way more senior than you and driving projects and products. So you have to be able to be confident, and there's a lot of different types of personalities that you're going to be working with, and you have to be able to navigate those personalities. Maybe a little bit of a thicker skin, to be honest.
Awesome. Rosie is asking if a job specifically requires a cover letter, will the recruiter put more weight on it, or is it still less important than other components? I think just clarifying, like if it's required, what to do about it.
I think if a cover letter is required, then definitely take your time in writing that cover letter. Look over the job description, research the company and what type of people they hire. If it is required for a reason. And I think a lot of that might have to do with skills in presenting yourself, pitching yourself as a brand, how you might fit into that company. So I would take that very seriously, because that cover letter will definitely be read if it is required.
Awesome. I think we'll round out on Jacob's final question here,
Okay.
which is for internship positions that ask for references in the application, what advice do you have for someone who doesn't have any professional references, because this would be their first internship role?
Well, you have professors, right? You have, potentially if you were in the Boy Scouts or Girl Scouts, right? Like anybody that has seen your work ethic and what you can contribute can be a reference. So if this is your first internship, I would rely more on, again, a professor, a summer job manager or something like that. But anybody that can talk about you with confidence is who you want to ask. And for references, be sure to ask, can you give me a positive reference? Right? You might think someone is a trusted individual to you, but you always want to ask, can you provide me a positive reference before you list them as a reference? Always ask.
Awesome. Stefanie, thank you so much. I really,
Thank
really like this,
you.
this sort of free-flowing Q&A. I know that based on the response that we had and all the questions asked, the students definitely, and I got a lot out of it. And so thank you.
Oh my gosh,
This was,
it's my pleasure.
I think this is a perfect way to sort of wrap up the first week of Xoogler school. So
Yay.
we really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks everyone. And thanks for all the questions. I just pulled off my ears, but if you want to provide everyone with my LinkedIn, I know it was on my slide. I'm happy to continue the conversation offline and answer questions. I know looking for a job can be stressful, so I am here to help, and it's absolutely been a pleasure.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Stefanie. Enjoy the rest of your
Thank
Friday.
you. Okay, happy weekend, everyone.
Woo, bye.
Bye.